Hi, everybody. Peter Young here, and San Jose State. I'm in the School of Journalism and Mass Communications, and one of the things that I discovered early on was that while our reporters, mostly in the visual arena, shoot with linear cameras, a lot of them were getting interested in 360 and VR type news reporting. And so that's the genesis of this program, was really a bunch of us getting together and seeing how we can decide the best standards. And so here we're diving deep. In the pictures you're going to see in the gallery, and right up here are things that myself and my students have participated in. So the program description really is to create initially a draft version of standards whereby journalists could use this handbook in using 360 or virtual reality equipment and software. And we wanted to make sure that we could do some train the trainers. There are three parts to the program. We've been somewhat successful in all of them. First was to create a website, which will be funneled through Michael and given to everybody within the Cal State system to use. And this was a collection of all of our resources, both journalism and mass communications. The second was to create an e-handbook, which could be freely distributed in various forms, EPUB, iBook, as well as Kindle, and that's in the final draft stage right now, and I hope to have that done by midsummer. And then finally, provide a workshop for faculty to learn about 360 and VR equipment and software, and specifically journalism and mass communications faculty and graduate students. So the positives that came out of this really were several. I became a member with a number of other colleagues on the virtual reality board of advisors on campus. And what was really exciting about this discovery was that we had a group of maybe 15 or 18 people come in a room the very first time we all met. And we all said what we had in terms of equipment and software, and we were all just stupefied and learning that we essentially had the equivalent of about 3 full classrooms worth of equipment scattered across several departments and schools. And so that's one of the things that we're going to tackle this next year, is the sharing of not only just information and programs, but actual equipment and software. The second, it really allowed faculty and research team members, and I had 6 undergraduate researchers, the student researchers, to interact, talk with industry employees and query about technologies and products directly. And so I empowered all of my students, for example, and gave them a list of potential vendor partners and said, you are to make the contact. And they were just delighted. And the vendors actually got back to me and said, this is wonderful. The website actually became a focal point for much of the activity. And we scored a very, very nice URL. So if you're into vanity URLs, it's called 360news.today. I don't think I could get a better URL than that. And then I think the last was the student researchers were able to use and create content with the equipment that we purchased under this grant. They got to touch it, and so it was very, very nice. The negatives, less than positive, were the 2 of the original vendors that we proposed, that we labeled in the proposal, actually went bankrupt. And 2 additional vendors, which we signed up in partnerships, if you will, after these others went bankrupt, have also gone bankrupt. So we are discovering that while this is a wonderful and exciting arena, it is fraught with business realities. The student researchers also did not complete their written reports in time, and that was a little bit of time management on their part and follow through on my part, but we've all learned a lot, and eventually we got material in. The workshop that was originally set up for the faculty was preempted by Google, surprisingly enough, on campus. And so We had no planned award money used for the workshop. We'll be turning that back into the Chancellor's office, but we have provided mini workshops for faculty throughout this process of 2 and 3 faculty at a time. And then finally, technology changed so rapidly that our planned purchases of tethered headsets was postponed really due to a slew of non-tethered headsets coming on the market, and those even improving and changing. So that's going to be one of our recommendations in moving forward. The takeaways: it was an incredible exposure to the industry. I was asked and appointed as the facilitator for the Google News Lab 360 VR journalism community, which I continue managing that group now. One of the team members actually was given an internship based on her work in 360 video. The syllabi that we have shared with faculty in and out of CSU is we're quite grateful, and people have been collaborating on those syllabi. And Bay Area televisions have, in fact, been very impressed with our work and may employ 2 or 3 of our student researchers in 360 news journalism projects this summer. These are 4 panoramic 360 pictures that we took for everybody, our little mini gallery. And this really is kind of the power of what we're talking about. The first one was to be a series of panoramic views, both video and still, for geology. The second one is my den, but to show ostensibly real estate type pictures. The next one is more a retail operation, so business school oriented type project. And the last one was actually a portal page that we were working with another vendor on to show various projects that people could tap into. None of this was exclusionary to what's going on in augmented reality, though we did not touch on that, and we hope with the support, maybe not financially, but ostensibly from Michael's office and others in the Chancellor's office, to expand this. And we want to invite everybody to the website and use it as a teaching resource going forward. So I'm right at 8 minutes, Michael, and I'll take any questions.
Yeah, if there's someone who has a question, you can either just to turn on your mic, unmute yourself and ask a question, or you could type it in the chat and I'll ask it. And if I don't, Mihaela, did you have a question, or are you just getting ready to go next? Well, I have a quick one then. So if I were a Silicon Valley entrepreneur and I wanted to start a company to do something that there isn't a company doing for higher education, given that now you've had 2 go out of business, what's the business opportunity here that you think's being missed because you haven't been able to find a company to do it?
So there's 2 things that we, I think that we overestimated and the companies overestimated. First of all, both the first companies essentially were tackling the idea of virtual reality and 360 as if they were, it was world peace. They wanted to bite off everything, and they didn't focus really down into any particular niche. The second is that any startup, maybe it's student-led, out of one of our campuses, needs to find a particular area and concentrate on it. And so health comes to mind, and engineering comes to mind. And specializing in these kind of siloed areas, I think, will be considerably more profitable for a startup than, again, attempting to be all and to everybody at once.
Great. Well, thank you, Peter. Let's go ahead and unshare your screen and bring up Mihaela Popescu from, I hope I'm saying your name right, Mihaela, from Cal State San Bernardino, to talk about the work that they're doing there. So as soon as Peter's screen comes down, we can put yours up and we'll be ready to go.